In Zaccaria Pinball, there are 2 game modes that exist that will challenge your ability to accomplish tasks on the electromechanical and solid-state tables that the game has to offer. These are the story mode and the campaign mode. In this video, I'll briefly discuss what they are, the differences between the two, and my experiences with both of these modes. I also need to mention that while what I'll be talking about will be relevant to all platforms that Zaccaria Pinball is on, I'll be focusing on the Steam platform, so there may be slight differences for other platforms, such as the free tables that are included with the game, or certain terminology used between the different platforms, such as achievements being called quests in the Android version. But let's start with Story Mode, since Story Mode is completely free. In fact, when you download Zaccaria Pinball on Steam, along with the solid-state and retro versions of Time Machine, you'll also have the ability to play Story Mode for free as well. So why is this called Story Mode? Does it have some sort of story to tell? Well, not exactly. See, Story Mode simply has you complete a task on each of the electromechanical and solid-state tables the game has to offer. The reason it's called Story Mode is because these tables are presented in chronological order from release date. It begins with Tropical, Zaccaria's earliest table, and ends with Stars Phoenix, Zaccaria's last table. Here's how the mode plays out. You'll start with 10 balls and 99 seconds on the clock. You'll play your first table, Tropical, and attempt the task displayed on your screen. For Tropical, it's hitting one of the flashing spot targets. When you accomplish the task, you'll earn 125 points, plus a point for every second left on the clock, and you'll move on to the next table. It'll continue like that until either you play through all the tables or you run out of balls. So what happens if you can't complete the task in 99 seconds and you run out of time? Well, you still have to continue and complete the task. It's just that when you run out of time, you'll start to lose 1 point for every second until you complete the task. So in order to get the best scores, you'll have to complete every task as quickly as possible. But also try not to lose many balls, because you'll get an extra 100 points for every ball remaining when you finish the last table. So if you're watching the footage, it may seem like something's off. I said you start with 10 balls, but why do I have way more than that in the footage? Well, there's 2 reasons for that I haven't mentioned yet. Every time you complete a task and move on to the next table, you'll get an extra ball. So if you complete several tasks without losing a ball, you could end up with more balls than you started with. But that's not really the reason I have more than 10 balls in this footage. The main reason I had more than 10 balls is because you get to start with 1 extra ball for every 100 achievements you've earned in Zaccaria Pinball. And there are over 4,000 achievements for Zaccaria Pinball, and many are very easy to get. So even if you have just half of them, you'll start Story Mode with 30 balls instead of just 10, which puts you at a greater advantage over those with less achievements. This also means that the mode will be more difficult for those that haven't bought any extra tables, because they won't have the ability to earn those achievements. And I think you've got to be an excellent player to be able to play through with only 10 balls, because some of the tasks can be very difficult. Like, I find the robot bridge shot on Robot to be very difficult, and I find many of the tables to be drain happy, like for Fala and Devil Riders, especially since the side flippers are disabled in this mode. I would expect the full game of Story Mode to run about an hour, and although it'd be fun just to jump in and start playing Story Mode right as soon as you download the game and jump in it, I think it would be better to actually play some of the other modes and tables first, just to earn some achievements, so you could start with more than just 10 balls. Personally, I didn't even finish Story Mode until my 3rd attempt, and this is after I'd played the game for a while and earned almost half of the total achievements, bulking up the number of balls I started with, so I could start with a bigger advantage. But even after completing Story Mode, I'll probably go back and play it again at a later date after getting more achievements, just to see if I could improve my position on the leaderboard. Hey, I finished Story Mode! Boom! Ha ha! So what about Campaign Mode? Well, it's very similar to Story Mode, but it's expanded quite a bit and has a bit of an RPG element to it. It also isn't free, and it requires a $2.99 DLC unlock, but it's also included in the Platinum Bundle, which is how I got it. So when you get into Campaign Mode, you are greeted with a roadmap of different challenges spanning 10 pages. You start on page 1 and tackle the challenges one at a time, unlocking the next challenge or challenges along the path. Completing a challenge involves completing the tasks indicated. Challenges on page 1 only require 1 task to be completed, while challenges on page 2 require 2 tasks to be completed, wherein you have to complete the first task before moving on to the next one. Page 3 requires 3 tasks, and so on until the 10th and final page, where 10 tasks must be completed in order to pass those challenges. Completing the challenge will earn you some coins and unlock the next challenge or challenges that are connected on the map. There are actually a few ways to fail a task. The first is to drain your allotment of balls. Second is running out of time. And finally, you'll fail if you run out of flipper battery, and that's something I'll explain shortly. But I mentioned that completing a challenge will earn you some coins, but what are the coins used for? Well, the coins are used to upgrade certain features to make the challenges easier as you move along, and here's what can be upgraded. The battery. As mentioned earlier, you can fail if you run out of flipper battery. Every time you activate the flipper, the battery drains, and holding the flipper up will drain the battery at an extremely rapid rate. So one thing you really want to avoid in campaign mode is cradling the ball or flipping unnecessarily. Upgrading the battery will extend the life of the flippers, and while it really isn't necessary to upgrade early on, you'll notice that you'll need more battery the more tasks you need to complete later in the campaign. The plunger. This will increase the number of balls you get in reserve in case you drain the ball. This comes in handy for certain tables that drain a lot. Length. Now this increases the flipper length. The flippers will start out pretty small, so this may be one of the first upgrades you'd want to start with. Ball size. As you could probably guess, this increases the ball size. The ball does start pretty small, but I don't know if that's exactly a disadvantage. I kept the ball size pretty small throughout the campaign because I felt it was a bit easier to sneak the ball into some channels and orbits that may be more difficult if the ball is bigger, though it is more difficult to hit some of the targets with the smaller ball, and the smaller ball is likely to get stuck in some places a normal sized ball wouldn't normally get stuck. Time. This one is pretty straightforward. It increases the initial amount of time given to you to complete the challenge. Multi-ball. While you play a challenge, every so often, the table will automatically shoot another ball onto the playfield. Upgrading this option will reduce the wait time so a new ball is shot onto the playfield more frequently. This can be quite handy as losing a ball while 2 or more are on the playfield will not count as a lost ball. And with more balls on the playfield, it increases your chance of hitting whatever is needed to complete your tasks. Nudge. When you start out, there's practically no force applied when you nudge the table. Upgrading this will increase the force applied. This may not be something that's needed in the beginning of the campaign, but it could be handy later on as challenges get longer and the ability to manipulate the ball where you need it to go could be very beneficial. Also, there's no tilting in campaign mode, so you can nudge the table as much as you want to. Task. So every time you complete a task, you'll earn more time to complete the challenge as a whole. This upgrade will increase the amount of time earned for completing each task. This is pretty much a useless upgrade early in the campaign, but it can be a very useful upgrade later in the game. Now, there's somewhat of a strategy when it comes to upgrading these items, since some are more useful than others during different parts of the campaign. And even after earning all the coins possible, you still won't be able to upgrade everything to its maximum level. So if you get stuck and feels like you've upgraded the wrong items, the only way to go back is to reset the whole mode and start again from scratch. And the time it takes to complete campaign mode can vary, as you don't actually need to play all the challenges to finish the mode. You could just take a direct path to the final task and earn your reward for finishing the mode and be done with it. However, there are a couple of disadvantages to doing so. The most obvious is that by not playing all the challenges, you won't earn as many coins. So the game will become more difficult as you will not be able to upgrade as many features. Secondly, certain challenges marked on the map will award you with more coins, and at least one challenge on each page will award an achievement. So taking a direct route to the end may mean skipping these rewards. Lastly, there's a leaderboard for campaign mode, wherein scores are determined by how many challenges are completed. The only way to achieve a maximum score of 168 is by completing all the challenges. And just FYI, it took me about 15 hours to achieve this based on the in-game timer.
I did it! That's it! I completed it!
And oh yeah, I did mention there was a reward for completing campaign mode, didn't I? Well, for completing campaign mode, you earn the ability to play the treasure table in the awards section of Zaccaria Pinball. This is the only award table that cannot be unlocked by purchasing the award table pack, so even if you do purchase that, you still can't play treasure without purchasing and completing campaign mode. And this is primarily why I made this video talking about campaign mode before talking about the award tables. Now, as for my own thoughts on the story and campaign modes, I thought they were a lot of fun and satisfying to complete. Now with story mode, I could definitely see myself going back and playing it again and attempting to get a higher score, although I really can't see myself going back to replaying campaign mode because I don't feel like there's anything more I could gain from it. Once a challenge has been played, you can't replay it again without resetting the whole mode. And if you've already played all the challenges, you already have the maximum score possible. Lastly, I found some challenges in campaign mode to be pretty frustrating. Don't get me wrong, story mode can have its frustrating moments as well, but some of the tasks in campaign mode ask you to do things like have the ball hit a specific in lane, and that's usually not something you could shoot for purposefully, and you just wind up hoping that the ball hits the in lane without going in the out lane, and being on a timer doesn't exactly help you with that. And this type of situation happens pretty frequently in campaign mode, especially during the end, and it can result in you being stuck on a certain challenge for a considerable amount of time. And as some people who have witnessed me on stream attempting these challenges can attest to, it's something I'd rather not repeat. So that's my final word on these modes. Story mode is fun and challenging, free and worth revisiting, while campaign mode is not free and can be frustrating at times. I found it was still fun and satisfying to play overall, but just once, and it's not something I'd really want to play again. The table it unlocks is interesting, but I think most people won't care about it. I'll save the details for that on a future video. And that's it. If you made it this far and you've liked the video, I would recommend liking the video. And if you're not yet subscribed, I would recommend subscribing as I've got plenty of videos just like this, and there will be more to come. I would also recommend checking out my Twitch channel, Crow Pinball, as I've been more active over there as well, in addition to you possibly seeing me getting really mad at campaign mode. Well, that's long gone. You're not going to see that, but maybe there's a VOD or a clip of that somewhere. Anyway, see you all next time.